Hello and welcome to today's webinar aimed at tutors, assessors and IQAs of the Essential Digital Skills qualification. This presentation will provide a guide and a reference point as we progress through the content, and you can find this in the handout section of the GoToWebinar control panel. We will be using a Microsoft form during the webinar for a short quiz. And we also encourage questions. So please use the question box to share any you do have. The session is a mixture of providing information, exploring best practice, asking questions and sharing ideas. Therefore, it's vital that everybody participates fully, sharing their ideas in a collaborative way to allow for peer learning to take place. So if you haven't already done so, please let me know everything's okay with the sound, and just by using the question box, which you'll find in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay, so thank you for attending today's session. On the screen, you can see our agenda. After a few introductions, we'll start with an overview of the controlled assessment. Then we'll take a look at the two documents you should be referring to if you're anyway involved in the administration of the controlled assessment. So that's the regulations for conduct of the controlled assessments, the assessments instructions for the essential digital skills controlled assessment, and then also the Surpass user guide. And you can access the links from the chat if you would like to refer to them. But these sort of documents are available from QualHub within the EDSQ qualification information page. So I'm just going to pop these links into the chat for you. And I think that's went in twice, so there should be 3 links for you to access during today. So you can see that we've allocated some time at the end of the sessions for questions, but I'd like to encourage you to ask these throughout the session so it can make the webinar a little bit more interactive. You can do this by using the question box function on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll make time as the section intervals as we go through, just to have a little catch up to see if there's any questions coming through. So I'm Rachel Webster. I'm part of the provider development team. A little bit about my background. I have teaching and assessing experience from a range of settings, including schools, colleges and private training organisations, teaching mainly IT qualifications and apprenticeship standards from pre-entry to level 4. And we are also joined today by Ashley Carter. She's a quality assurance officer for the assessment platforms, and she will be giving some live demos of the process centres take after registering and booking learners onto the portal. So thank you for joining us today, Ashley. The session will, oh, sorry.
Just saying hello.
Hello, welcome. The session will last approximately 1 hour, and the session is being recorded just to allow relevant colleagues to access it. So we're just going to start off with a poll. The answers provided will help us to adapt our input accordingly. So I'm going to launch the poll now. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very confident and 1 not confident at all. And if you're yet to start delivery, please try to predict what you might score yourself at. I'll just give you a few more moments. We're nearly got everybody's vote. Okay then, so the vote showing that we've got 40% it's 3 to 5, and then 60% it's 6 to 8. I do hope you find this webinar this morning useful. So then we're going to start off with an overview of the controlled assessment. But before we go any further, what is a controlled assessment? Please use the question box to post your initial thoughts or ideas. So what is a controlled assessment? Yep, somebody's put carried out under supervision. Yep. Any more ideas? Set by NCFE and it's timed under supervision. Absolutely. Assessment carried out internally, supervised by a learning coach. Yep. Making sure you follow the assessment rules. Absolutely. Making the room secure. Brilliant ideas. Okay then, you can now see NCFE's definition on the slide now. The controlled assessment forms an internal assessment which controlled levels are set at each stage of the assessment process. Medium control levels have been assigned to the task setting and task marking. So NCFE's controlled assessment tasks are set by NCFE following the requirements and the qualification and skills criteria. So the assessments allow centres to mark the controlled assessment. Assessments must be marked using the mark scheme provided, and assessment decisions will be checked and confirmed by the centre's internal quality assurer and NCFE's external quality assurer. The assessor must record each assessment decision and the justification for the decision on the required documentation outlined in the assessor's instructions. Now, high control is given to tasks taken. The controlled assessments must be undertaken in controlled supervised conditions, and learners must be formally supervised at all times during their assessment. Okay, we'll now focus more closely on essential digital skills and explore how the qualification is assessed. You can see the assessment overview on the screen now. The assessment is externally set online via Surpass, internally marked and externally quality assured. The assessments, both at entry level 3 and level 1, consists of two components, so section A and section B. Section A is the knowledge section, which consists of specific multi-choice questions that learners must complete. And section B is the skills section in which learners complete certain tasks. Now I'm just going to check to see if we've got any questions come through before I move on. And it doesn't look like I have so far, but I'll keep checking after each section. So now we're going to look at the Essential Digital Skills assessment material that's available for you to download from QualHub. Please do use the question box to share any of your own ideas or ask questions during this section. Now, these regulations have been produced to enable all centres to administer controlled assessments consistently and securely so that the integrity of the assessment process can be maintained. So failure to follow these regulations could adversely affect candidates, either at a local level within your centre or potentially in the event of a security breach of an assessment paper at a national or international level. So the regulations do not in any way affect the responsibility of the centre for health and safety and working under current legislations and local government bylaws. So it's a very important document, so please do make yourself familiar with the content. Now, this document must be read and followed prior to the delivery and assessment of the NCFE's Essential Digital Skills qualification. So at entry level 3 and at level 1. So centres must follow the regulations for the conduct of controlled assessments when carrying out the EDSQ controlled assessment. So supervisors must read and use the regulations for the conduct of assessment. No guidance to learners on how to meet subject content statements from the assessor or supervisor is allowed. Group work is not permitted. Learners must work independently at all times, and steps must be taken to prevent any plagiarism. Templates and other scaffolding techniques may not be provided to learners, and no work completed during teaching and learning is allowed to be used in the assessment. And specific detailed feedback on how to improve their response or answer to the assessment questions must not be provided to learners, and the assessment must not be completed by the learners at home. Now, the role of the assessor is to assess the learning evidence produced against the subject content and to provide feedback to learners regarding their achievement. So it's also worth reminding your learners of the varying roles as a tutor, assessor and supervisor, so they know what to expect during both teaching and learning and then again at assessment. Now, supervision, all controlled assessments must be formally supervised by an appropriate person. This may be an appropriate qualified member of staff from the centre or even a place from employment whose integrity can be relied on. At entry level 3 and at level 1, it's recommended that learners are assessed on a one-to-one basis. Where this is not practical, centres must ensure that assessment conditions are such that help or guidance can be given without affecting other learners adversely, advantageously or otherwise. So instructions for supervisors must be followed prior to the assessment, and once the learner begins working on their internal assessment, the supervisor must not provide any specific feedback on the evidence produced by the learner before it's submitted for assessment, or confirm achievement until the work has been assessed. Learners must demonstrate themselves that they can provide evidence for the controlled assessment independently, using their knowledge, skills and understanding gained through the teaching and learning of the qualification delivery. Assessment documents always must be stored securely when not in use. For EDSQ controlled online assessments, learners should have access to Surpass to complete their online assessment. However, specific assessor instructions are provided per assessment paper and must be followed. Any source documentation relevant to the assessment, a device to complete their assessment with, full internet access, email access, word processing software and spreadsheet software, local drive, cloud storage, and access to a centre smartphone. So centres are responsible for ensuring that there's no pre-prepared material on the hard drives or otherwise that can be accessed by the learners. Now, supervisors can read the instructions of the assessment before beginning the assessment. However, learners should not receive any support beyond this, including unacceptable support. I'll just give you a moment just to read this slide. Okay, just enough of me talking just for the moment. I would now like you to complete a Microsoft Forms quiz, just going over the assessment materials that we've just covered, and we can go through the answers and any questions you have. You'll need access to the links I provided earlier on in the chat, just if you wanted to double check. And please let me know if you have any trouble accessing them. The task should take no more than 5 minutes to complete, so you can either scan the QR code, what's on the screen now, or I will put a direct link into the chat to the form as well. We're going to now have a little look at the overview of the approval process. So once your centre has been approved to deliver EDSQ, your named designated person in your centre will receive an email with instructions from NCFE's customer support team to apply for the online assessment, in which the centre will be able to access areas of Surpass required to administer, mark, and also IQA the assessment. In 2020, Adobe withdrew support for Flash, and as such, web browsers have been removed the ability to run Adobe Flash. Now, to allow centres to continue to access the Flash-based version of the schedule screen to ensure you get full functionality, you will need to download and install and use Surpass Viewer. And it's a custom browser with Flash embedded into it. So once installed, you'll be able to continue to access the full functionality if Surpass is needed. And the in-browser sample papers are available on NCFE's website. A guide has been created to take you through the steps to download, install, and use Surpass Viewer. I'll pop the link into the chat now so you can have access to that PDF. And the guide will provide information regarding the technical specifications that devices will require to allow you to install and use the Surpass View. And it'll also provide support on who needs to download and install the Surpass Viewer for assessment purposes. Now I'm just checking to see if there's any more questions come through. And we haven't got any so far. So we're going to now introduce you to NCFE's portal. Now, the most important documents to direct you to is the portal user guide, which you can access from QualHub. And I'll quickly just pop a link into the chat in case you haven't seen this. And but now I'm going to give Ashley's going to now give a demonstration of what the portal looks like and how you can register and book your learners onto EDSQ qualification. Hi Ashley, I'm going to hand over the screen permissions now.
Okay. Yeah, that should be sharing now. Can you say that, Rachel?
We can, yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Ashley, and I'm just going to run through a few things on the portal, what you would do to book your learners, first of all. So you need to log into the portal as usual, and what you would do is you would go to bookings, and then you would choose book controlled assessment, not external controlled. Sometimes that can be a little confusing. Obviously, this is once you have registered your learners, so your learners do need to be registered first. So once you come to book, you can search for your learners by batch number, first name, surname, product code, product title. I'm just going to pop a batch in here to show you. So once you find the learner that you want to book, you just select them by ticking the little box and then click Book Controlled Assessments. This will then show you the assessment topic that the learner will be booked onto. As you can see here, it's holiday plans. And we do advise maybe make a note of this, take a screenshot just to ensure that you know exactly which topic your learner will be on. And then click confirmation. There is a little declaration here that you need to read through. Once you're happy, click confirm, and that will create the booking for your learner. You can download the assessment pack from here, which we were discussing earlier, and I'll just show you exactly what is in that pack. So if you look at the bottom here, the following assessment materials are available for download, and then you can get a link, and this will just open up a zip file that you can then download. So there are things that you'll need to do for the assessment, putting pictures in files, etc. But all of that is within this additional guidance when you download it. Now you can go back and get this assessment pack if required. And to do that, you would go to Bookings, and then you would click View Controlled Assessment. Just enter the batch number, the learner's details, and find the learner that you've booked. So as you can see, the learner's coming up now that I've booked. And if you need to get the assessment material, you just click this button here, Assessment Material, and that will allow you to re-download the documents. And you can also click View Bookings Report and download a report just confirming the learner's booking. You can also cancel your learner's booking from this screen as well. As you can see here at the bottom, Cancel Controlled Assessments. So you would tick the little boxes, select the learners, and then click Cancel Controlled Assessments, and that will cancel the booking. I'm just going to show you an example, because there is a few things that you can tick on this to make sure the learner can be rebooked. So if you select the learner, click Cancel Controlled Booking, it does ask you to give a reason, and there's also a little box that you can tick here which says, please tick this box to declare the learner has not seen or sat this assessment. So if you tick this box, that will just allow for that learner to be rebooked for the same assessment again. So if they haven't seen or started any of the assessment, you would need to tick that. Obviously, if there was other reasons, such as you know, there was a technical issue or something like that, then you wouldn't tick that box. So once you've then booked your learner, what will happen is their details will move over to Surpass, and a window will be opened in Surpass for 6 weeks. And this is the amount of time that the learner has to sit the assessment. Then after that 6 weeks, it will void. But in about 5 or 10 minutes or so, I will go through how to use Surpass and show you everything in there as well. If you've got any questions, just pop it in the box, and I'll just hand back over to Rachel now.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to check to see if any questions have come through regarding that. Somebody's put in, when I booked, my learner didn't show on the portal when I was making the booking.
Okay.
Can you think of a reason why?
Yeah, so there could be a couple of things. It might be worth making sure that your learner is definitely registered onto the right qualification. You know, there is the entry level 3 and the level 1, so just make sure you're searching for the correct qualification. And also making sure again that you click the book controlled assessment and not external assessment. That, like I say, sometimes you can just click the wrong thing and the learner may not show up. So we just check both those things. But if there's still issues, just contact our customer support team if you do have any issues or anything like that.
Thank you. I think we've got another one come through. How long does it take for the booking to move from the portal to Surpass?
Okay, so once you've made that booking in the portal, the booking will appear in Surpass within 15 minutes. So there is a report that's run every 15 minutes or so, which will transfer the bookings over. It could be sooner than that, just depending on when you do it, but it'll definitely be there within those 15 minutes. So you can then go into Surpass and view the assessment, which I will show you that process in a little bit as well.
Thank you. That seems to be all the questions so far. If you do have any, please do add them, and we'll make sure we'll get them covered in the session today for you. Okay, so in this section, this is where Ashley's going to give a demo of Surpass, what centres will need after they've registered and booked the learners onto the portal. So once your learners have been registered and booked on the portal, the booking will transfer over to Surpass. And as Ashley's just mentioned, it should take approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Ashley will then cover the different sections within Surpass, such as the invigilate, mark, and moderate screens. And it's just important to mention here that all changes must be done through the portal, and the portal will then transfer the changes and update Surpass. But before we move on to the demo, I would just like to introduce and share some user guides that are available from QualHub under the qualification information pages. And I'm just going to put the links into the chat for you. So Surpass User Guide provides information for staff who are involved in the preparation, supervision and assessment and internal quality assurance of the EDSQ at entry level 3 and at level 1. And it will provide you with instructions for how to use Surpass using the invigilate, mark and moderate screens, which Ashley will be covering next. And there's also a guide for learners who are sitting in an online controlled assessment for entry level 3 and level 1. So the steps set out within the guide will provide all the information your learners will need to access and complete the assessment using the Surpass Viewer online platform. Okay, Ashley, if you're ready, I'm going to hand over the screen permissions to you now.
Okay. Okay, so just can you say Surpass to open there now, Rachel?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. So I'm just going to now go through the PASS system and the different screens that you would expect to see and how to use those. I will also show you how a learner will sit an assessment as well. So as we said before, once the booking is made, it will then transfer over to the Surpass system. And this will initially show within the invigilate screen. As we said, that will take around 15 minutes. So once you make the booking, log into Surpass and you will then see the booking within that 15 minutes. So for example, if you can see this one at the top here, which I've previously booked in, and this is a practice test that we have in the system that I can show you. And the one that I've just booked actually has just appeared underneath. You can see that. So that's literally just came there now within about 5 minutes or so. So the invigilate screen, this is a screen which you can kind of look at your test, what you've got booked in, what status they're at, and you can also print an invigilation pack and get the learner key code. So I'm just going to show you a few of the tabs. So you've got the test name, you've got the state. The status of the exam will show you kind of what stage the exam is. So R for ready, if you hover over the status, it will give you like a little explanation as well. So R for ready means that the exam is ready to start. You can have a green tick, which means that the learner has completed the exam and that it will then probably likely be in the mark screen. You can get the red cross, which means the exam's been voided. One down here, which is showing learner disconnected, and that could mean that the learner's possibly had technical issues and the exam has disconnected. If that were to happen, just give our customer support team a call and they will kind of go through, you know, what you need to do, what the best kind of way forward is if you do have any technical issues. So you've got your centre name, your subject, the start and end dates, which, like I said, it automatically will book a 6 weeks period, and that means you can log into this test anytime within that 6 weeks. Start and end time are just set to all day so that you can just kind of sit at any point. And then you've got your learner details as well. And you can use these different tabs at the top. You can filter them, so you can kind of search for your learner's name by just clicking the little magnifying and clicking, you know, just search, and I'll give you an example. So that'll just bring up any assessments that I've booked in for myself. So do use these filters to kind of locate the learner that you need. So I'm going to show you how a learner would actually sit the assessment, and I'm just going to fill a couple of questions in so we can then put this into the mark screen. So what they will need is the key code. So you can either just copy that, write it down, or you can print an invigilation pack, which I've just mentioned here at the bottom. Print invigilation pack. I'll show you what comes up with that. So you can get an attendance register. invigilation report, so you can confirm what time the test started. If there was any disturbances or anything in the test, you can record it on there. And also you can get the key code. So if you wanted to print that out prior, you can. So otherwise you would just get the key code, and then where you need to go to launch the exam. So if you go to the home page and click deliver test here at the bottom, and that will take you to the launch test delivery page. And what you need to do on here is you need to go through HTML delivery, live test, click UK, enter the key code. Just worth mentioning that if you do want to change the colour, like if the learner did have a reasonable adjustment, you can do that here as well and change the colour of the screen. So once the learner is ready to start, you put the key code in and click OK. This will confirm the learner details. So just click confirm, accept the terms, and then you can start the learner can start the assessment. So I'm just going to go through and just answer some of the questions, like I say, just so I can get this in the mark screen and we can kind of go through the process. So the first half of the assessment, as we said earlier, is multiple choice. The learners would just go through section A and just going through the multiple choice questions. Once you finish the section, they would just click finish section. It will ask you to confirm if you would want to finish the section, and if there is some questions that have been missed, it will confirm. Between the sections, there is a break of 15 minutes. So you can obviously give this break to the learners. If not, you can just click resume test, and that will just start section 2. Section B, sorry. So the learners will then work through section B, which like a lot of this is kind of doing work on a document. So you would have to download a document, do the changes that it's asking, and then upload the document. So I'm just going to upload just kind of a test document, just so we've got some data in there when we're going in the mark screen. To go through the questions, you can click the numbers down the side, or you can click the next button. So again, I will just upload a document. So I'm just going to finish the test. So you'll get a message to say you've completed the test, you may now close the window. The assessment will now move into the mark screen. So the mark screen is the permission that the assessor will have, and they will mark the assessment from in this screen. To the left hand side, there is a little triangle which brings up the filters that you can search for your learners. So I'm just going to find that assessment that we've just completed there. Okay, so once you've located the assessment that you want to mark, you would highlight the assessment and then click Mark Script at the bottom. And this will open the learner assessment. So section A, as we said, these are the multiple choice questions. So just to confirm, these questions are auto-marked in the system, so you wouldn't actually need to mark these. But if you do want to see kind of if the learner has got the mark, you can click through the questions and it will say at the top. So these ones, obviously, I've just chosen any, but I've not got any mark for them. But for this one, I've got 1 out of 1. So it will kind of confirm which ones are correct and which aren't. So what you would need to do is move to section B, and this would be where you would need to mark. So if you can see down the side, there are little asterisks on the questions that need marked, so you know what's been done and what hasn't. And all of these do need to be complete before you submit the script. I'm just going to show you how you would do the marking. So for this question, as you can see, there are different learning outcomes and you need to mark each one. And these kind of match the questions that are in the task. You can also download a mark scheme. You should get that within, you can get that within the assessment pack. And it's not available in this one because it's a practice one, but in the proper exams, you can click this button here, download mark scheme, and that will also open the mark scheme to help you while you're marking. So what you would do is you would just go down the outcomes and you would assign the marks as required. You can also leave marker comments by clicking the marker comment button. And you can put a comment in there. This will only be available to the IQA and the EQA. It wouldn't be available for learners to view. You will still need to give your learner feedback on a learner feedback form, which is available to download on the website. Once you've left a comment and you put your marks in, you can then click assign mark. And that will then take you on to the next question. If you want to view what marks you've given, you can click the mark in history. So I'm just going to go back to question 1. And the mark in history is this little clock underneath here. So if you click that, that will say how many marks you've assigned, and also it will have your marker comment. If you want to read the full comment, you just need to hover over it and it will just show you what you've put. If at this point you have kind of marked it wrong or you want to change any of the marks, you can just go back into this learning outcome box, change the marks, and then reassign them by clicking assign, and that will change them. So you can kind of go through and change anything if required. So you just need to go through all of the questions, obviously mark them, assign the mark, leave a comment if required. I'm just going to show you in the assessment, so when the learner uploads their document, you can download it from this section here. So you would download the learner document and obviously mark it from there. So once you have went through and marked all of the questions, what you then need to do is you need to submit the script, and this will go to the IQA within the moderate screen. There's also progress at the top here, which tells you how much you've marked of the assessment, just so you know that everything is complete before you do submit the script, because once you have submitted the script, you can't go back and change unless it was to go back to mark, which can be done, and I will go through that with you. I'm just going to submit the script, and you'll just get a message to say, you know, you won't be able to change your marks after you submit this, and then that's submitted. So once you've done that, like I say, this will now move to the moderate screen, which is where the IQA will go to check that the marks given, you know, are correct and that they are happy to release those results. So I'm going to quickly show you that now. Okay. Just a quick note on this screen. If you can't find your learner, always look at there's always a filter which is on the completed date, so it will only bring up assessments from the last month. So if your learner has done their assessment quite a little while ago, you may need to take that filter off. So we just click the button, click filter off, or you can put whatever date. So if you know what date the learner sat the assessment, you can just put that date in, and that will just bring up the assessment from that date. Just whatever's easiest for yourself. So once you locate the learner and you want to complete the IQA, all you need to do is click View Responses. And this will open up the assessment again. So again, section A is auto marked, and you can look at the mark in history to confirm how many marks have been given, and it does state that it is computer marked. So when you go to section B, you would again look at the mark in history, see what marks have been awarded. You can read any comments that have been left by the assessor. If you don't agree with any of the marking, and you want this to go back to the assessor to remark, you can do that. And what you would do is you would click flag for review. What this would do is it would send the assessment back into the mark screen, and the assessor can then go back into the mark screen and change the marks that have been assigned. So like I say, you would go through each question, obviously checking the mark scheme and making sure that everything is being marked correctly. You can also leave comments in here. Again, you would just go to the learning outcome assign, click mark a comments, write a comment and click assign. However, you do need to give IQA feedback via our IQA feedback form, which again, that is available on our website. If you are happy with the marks and everything that's given, you can just close out of the assessment and then you will need to release the result. So to do this, you just select the learner. You can select multiple by clicking control and then clicking the other learners if there is more than one that you want to release. And then you just click the release button here at the bottom. This will then release the result and it will send this to the EQA. So the EQA will then have access to this assessment within a screen that they have access to. They will then obviously mark it or check it from there, and if they're happy with it, they will then arrange for the certificate to be released. But if there is any issues or the EQA does need to pass anything back, what they can do is they can flag it for a remark. And if that happens, it will then go into this screen here, which is a remark screen. And basically, you would just enter the exam again by clicking view responses, and you can change the marks, in accordance to what the EQA has advised, and then you can just resubmit it, and that will then go back to the EQA. So that's kind of an overview of the screens that you would need to use. If you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat, and I'm just going to hand back over now to Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions? I can't see the questions, Rachel, so if there's any come up, just let us know.
I will do. I'm just checking them now. Somebody's just said when they went through it, they couldn't see the learner in the relevant screen.
Right. So if
So
you
the
are
learner
looking wasn't in the screen they expected. Yeah, there's a few different things, obviously, with what I was saying about kind of the filters, and it could be that they're in the mark screen, it hasn't been submitted to the moderate screen, and only certain people with certain permissions have access to the screen. So if you are an assessor, you would have access to the mark screen, so you wouldn't necessarily be able to see anything on the moderate screen and vice versa. So when you are set up, you do have a designated person at the approval stage, and they have access to all screens. So it could be worth, asking them if they can see the learner in a particular screen. It's also worth making sure that you do take off the filters on the screens as well. Like I said, in the moderate screen, especially that completed filter, it can stop your learners showing up. But yeah, just to have a proper, really good look through the screens and making sure the filters are off. But if you do need any support with anything like that, you can ring our customer support team.
Thank you, Ashley. Another question's come through. Can I just double check again? Who can access the remark screen?
The remark screen. So yeah, the remark screen is where the EQA may not agree with the marks given, so they can then send that back to the remark screen. The IQA and the assessor both actually do have access to the remark screen. So it would be kind of up to the centre themselves who would complete the remark from there.
Super. I hope that's answered your questions. Just please come back if it hasn't. Okay, now just moving on to the EQA process. So once learners have taken the controlled assessment, the assessor has marked it and it has been IQA'd, the IQA will release the results, and the EQA will be in touch to book a review, or the centre can contact the EQA. The EQA will request all of the evidence for the EQA review, and the evidence will be listed in the confirmation email you'll receive. And the centre must provide assessor feedback to the learner, and the form will be included in the zip folder that's available upon downloading the assessment. The centre must provide the witness observation record, the one that's provided with the assessments and the zip folders. And when the assessment's booked, so don't just save a copy of it and reuse it because they're different for different assessments. The centre must provide IQA feedback to the assessor. The form will be included in the zip folder again when you download the assessment pack. And the review takes place as normal. And if there's any issues with the marking, the EQA will flag the assessment for remark in Surpass. The centre needs to carry out the remarking as requested and resubmit to the EQA. The EQA will check and either bank the result or they may flag it again. And there's no need to make claims. So Surpass automatically generates a result in the system for the EQA just to bank or reject. And if the learner fails, the EQA can bank the failed result without the EQA review, so the centre can book a reset. And some papers don't have a pass mark yet, so some results may be embargoed during the awarding period. And the essential digital skills qualification is the same QA group as functional skills. So centres need to bear in mind if they only have a few 2 free reviews per year to include both your functional skills and your EDSQ. So you need to be careful when planning to make sure the best use of their free reviews. And if they have functional skills reviews booked, they can include essential digital skills as well. So there's no need to book a separate review. And EQAs are booked 3 months in advance, and it's very difficult to get a last-minute review, especially in June, July and August. Centres are advised to book their summer 22-23 dates in as soon as possible in the new session, so they secure the date you want. Now I'm just going to double check to see if we have any questions, and it doesn't look like any have come through. So I'm just going to now launch another poll just to check on your confidence levels. And that should be coming through shortly. And I'll just give you a few moments just to complete this. Okay, we've got all the votes come through. We've got 80% who's moderately improved and 20% extremely improved. So I do hope it's been useful just to see the screens, especially if you're new to essential digital skills, to see what's going to take place and just to learn as much as you can, really. And if you haven't already done so, if you do need any curriculum support, I'm available. And please do get in touch with me to review anything you may want to go over. So as I've just mentioned, I'm Rachel Webster. I'm your contact for any questions in relation to teaching and learning aspects of the essential digital skills. I am starting to plan CPD for the next academic year, and I would love to gather input from you on ideas on what you would like to see. And if you haven't already done so, I've got a little CPD survey, and if you would like to complete it, just to help me with my planning, just to make sure that centres are getting what they need, I'm going to pop that into the chat. And there's also a QR code on the screen as well. Now, your account managers will be happy to discuss any additional products. And finally, our wonderful customer service team who can assist centres with issues regarding the portal, including logins, registering your learners, and also Surpass. Now, we are nearing the end of the session now, and I'm aware that we have covered a lot during the session, but hopefully you've had the opportunity to consider EDSQ on the controlled assessment, including the approval process, the portal, and Surpass for the marking and invigilation. Please also share what you've learned with your colleagues. And I'd just like to pose a normal takeaway question. If you can please add one key takeaway to the question box, something new or something consolidated as part of the session. What are you going to take away from the session today? And then again, please use the question box if you have any further questions or thoughts you might want to share. So one key takeaway, if you can just pop them into the question box. Thank you, Nikki. So Nikki's saying more understanding of the IQA and EQA work and roles. Eva, process to be followed by the IQA on Surpass. Yep. And Diana, understanding the learner's process. Thank you all so much. Now I'm just going to put our closing slide on. And all what's really left to say is just a huge thank you for your attendance and input. You can see the links to all the documents that have been mentioned during the session. Please do complete the session evaluation form as you log out. And remember to let us know if you have any ideas and suggestions for future CPD sessions. If you can just capture that link, which I put in the chat earlier on, to give some feedback, because I'm starting to plan them ready for next academic year now. And all I can say is goodbye and stay safe, especially in the heat, from everybody here at NCFE. Now, we'll stop on a few moments if anybody does have any further questions. But take care and thank you.